Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Last week, I told you that you were already walking in your purpose, that you were already living in your purpose. And sometimes when I say things, I can feel the eye rolls sometimes. Like, yeah, right, Don. I just filed bankruptcy. That's my purpose? I'm in jail? Is that what you mean by purpose? I'm old and retired. How can I be living in my purpose? Maybe I did at some point, but I'm certainly not now. I don't do anything extraordinary. There's no way I'm living in my purpose. I'm in rehab. Does that seem like my purpose? Isn't it supposed to be bigger? Isn't it supposed to look bigger and better than this if I was in my purpose? If you ask the question, what is the purpose of my life? The answer you're going to get from most people, especially if you're on the Jesus train, you're going to get to glorify God. That is the purpose of your life. And if you only look at the first layer of the word glory or glorify, you get a Greek word and it means to honor. The issue with when we stop here and we stop at this level, we have the mindset that I need to do everything right to honor God. I need to make sure I don't screw up, because if I can honor him with my life, that means I must be able to dishonor him. If I screw up, it's dishonoring. It leads us straight into behavior. I want to go a little further, and the root word for glorified is dikneo. It's the Greek word dikneo, and it means to give proof of a thing or expose to the eyes. One of the ways I study is to take that description, that root word, put that into the scripture I'm reading, and then it just kind of helps seal that. It helps explain that to me a little bit. So an example of me doing that, John 15:8, when your lives bear abundant fruit, you demonstrate that you are my mature disciples who glorify my Father. So what I like to do is that I like to now take that definition of the root word and its meaning and put that into that spot. So John 15:8 would read, when your lives bear abundant fruit, you demonstrate that you are my mature disciples who show proof of my Father. John 12:28, so Father, bring glory to your name. Then suddenly a booming voice was heard from the sky. I have glorified my name, and I will glorify it through you again. So Father, bring proof to your name. Then suddenly a booming voice was heard from the sky. I have given proof of my name, and I will expose eyes to it through you again. The purpose of your life is to glorify your Father, to give proof of your Father through your life, to expose to the eyes Jesus, to expose the eyes of the people around you to Jesus. So yes, I do think being in jail and living in your purpose can happen at the same time. I think you can be in jail living in your purpose by showing proof of God with your life. I think you can be homeless and living in your purpose by exposing people's eyes to Jesus. Today I met 3 men that are currently in a treatment program, and I watched them live in purpose today. I watched them live in their purpose by showing proof of God with their life, by exposing my eyes to Jesus through their servant. They served in a way that was so incredible, and they had such grateful hearts that I got to watch them show proof of God with their life today. Last weekend, I was in Fargo and I had an opportunity to speak at a women's conference. And so Saturday morning, me and my mom and her friend were down in the breakfast room having breakfast. And I ended up getting a compliment by this random woman that was down there having breakfast with her daughter. Said that was so kind and carried on. A few minutes later, we're finishing breakfast. She gives me another compliment related to my necklace. And I was like, you were killing it with compliments today. I was like, you're so kind. And she was like, I just want to be a good influence to my daughter. And we just ended up talking, and I got to hear a little bit about their story and where they're at. And before I left, I said, I don't know where you're at in your faith, but may I pray for you before I leave? She said, yes, I would love to. We leave and we go to the conference. It was a good day. I got to love on some different women there. I got to speak life and light into people, which is one of my favorite things to do. I got back to that hotel that night, and I had texted the woman from the breakfast room, just checking in. And the next morning, I had sent her a note, and I said, no pressure. I'm not offended if you say no. I said, but I wholeheartedly believe the message I gave yesterday was actually intended for you. Do you mind if I email it to you? She said, no, that would be great. So I emailed it to her. And that's where our story pauses. I haven't heard from her. I don't know if she's listened to it or if she hasn't, and that part doesn't matter to me. I hope if she listens that she is blessed by it. But I believe I drove to Fargo to love on a woman in a breakfast room, and the microphone and the stage that took place at the conference after was the side gig. What if the stage and the microphone is the side gig and your life is the main event? How do we approach our days if we realize our lives are the main event? What if you believed you are glorifying God and living in your purpose every day? What happens when we believe that we are showing proof of Jesus by living our lives? John 15:8. When your lives bear abundant fruit, you demonstrate that you are my mature disciples who show proof of my Father. When our lives bear fruit in the form of how well we do our job, how we interact with others, when our lives bear fruit by showing up after a failure, getting back up after a stumble, apologizing for a whoopsie, loving on a stranger, loving ourselves, we demonstrate we are His disciples and show proof of God in our life. Expose people's eyes to Jesus in you. You're already living in your purpose. Don't stop. I'll see you next week.